Hello everyone, welcome to the Watch Tailor channel where we take watches, give them a little tweak and make them better or different. In this one, as you've seen by the title, we're going to be making a 50th anniversary Pogue watch because Seiko didn't. Don't know why, but they didn't. Well, alright, they did a Seiko 5 with a gold dial, but that doesn't really count. So I'm making my interpretation of what I think they should have done. So obviously I wanted to modernise it. I didn't want to do a direct homage. I wanted to take some influence from the Pogue and bring it sort of up to date. And well, that's what I've done. So we start off with the case choice, and this one was a little bit different, not different, a little bit difficult, let's just say. Having a look through Seiko's current catalogue, and I couldn't really find one that was sort of curvy but also had these angular edges, so I ended up choosing this. So this is one of their Astron models, and if you look at it, it does sort of have a little bit of Pogue in it. You can see this sharp angle here and this here, but again, a bit more modern, which is what we're looking for. But it has the wrong pushes. You can see we've got these sort of winglet shaped ones. Didn't really think that would fit, so I ended up borrowing the crown and pusher arrangement from this, another chronograph. So I thought this sort of fit with the look I'm going for a little bit more than the really ultra modern. So we've got the ultra modern case, but those just were a little bit too much, whereas this, as you'll see, in my opinion, fit perfectly. So we'll get rid of that. So this is what the case ended up looking like. So that is the case. So you can see we've got all the elements of this apart from the crown and pusher arrangement from the other model which I showed you. So that looks a little bit weird, I know, but we have to begin from somewhere. So the first protocol was to create a circle. So you can see we've basically covered over the original dial because we don't need it anymore. So the next thing was to find a dial that was appropriate. Now the only dial I could really find was this. Now it's got that Seiko 5 look, which we don't want, but it has the colour and the sunburst, which we kind of do want, because again it's sort of got the look of the Pogue in the colour, but it's a little bit different and a little bit more modern. So then we have to obviously remove some stuff. So we started off by getting rid of the text, because obviously we didn't need that. It's not that sort of watch anymore. We then had to remove the hands. Yes, it's a bit of a mess, but of course, you know, we're going to have to clean that up and make it look a little bit nicer. We then removed all the indices and did a bit of cleanup work because, well, that come from the dive watch, which again, we didn't need because we're not making diver. And then got rid of all the numbers because, again, it didn't really fit with what I was going with. We then added in the branding. And we've gone with the applied logo because again it's got the applied, but this one I just thought looked quite nice. I then decided to start adding little elements and details to the watch. So the first one was of course mimicking the window, the border around the date window. I then duplicated that and just stretched it out to fit over the date. And the reason I did that, well, is because I just think it looks nice. Now bear in mind I stole this from a Grand Seiko, so obviously it's going to be like really high quality, but I just think it looks quite nice, and again it's a little bit more modern than that one, and I think it fits the aesthetic. But you can notice because of this border the date doesn't align, so I've had to realign that and move it. So you can see I just shifted it across a little bit just so it fits a little bit more central. The next sort of step I needed to take was to add a new bezel. Of course we wanted a tachymeter because the Pogue has a tachymeter. Now I didn't want to use the same one as the Pogue because again it's a little bit too vintage and we don't really want that. We want a more modern interpretation. So that's what we've done. So we borrowed this from the Seitoner, you know, the Seiko speed timer. We stole it off that, and I think it actually works quite well. So obviously it's the wrong colour though, it's grey, but we do have this nice brushed internal element which I think is quite nice, and again it just gives it its own unique identity compared to the original, but it still sort of ties in. So then obviously we needed to add in some colour. So the first was to add in the red. Now we've not gone for the same red as the Pogue. I've gone for a little bit more of a darker red and a little bit more metallic looking, but again, you know, it's the same pretty much, but again a little bit different. You can tell what it's influenced by. And then we did a little bit of cleanup, which you can't really see all that well, but it's done. So then obviously we needed to change the colour of the rest of the bezel, so we made that blue. Again, we've not gone for the same pale blue, we've actually gone for a darker blue, and I think it fits really well because you've got that really bright dial, but then you've got a bit of a darker look around the bezel, and I think the bezel draws you more into the dial. So that's you know, what I decided to do there. So the next thing was, of course, we needed a sub dial. So the Pogue has a 30-minute timer. So obviously we needed a 30-minute timer. So essentially what we had to do is borrow one from another watch. And well, that's what we did. So I basically grabbed this. Now this is from, oh god, what is it from? I think that's actually from the Tailor as well. You can see the hand there, because this is actually a timer from the 9 o'clock position, but I've put it down at the 6 o'clock instead, so that's why you can see the hand there. Obviously we're going to have to you know, remove that and sort it all out. So I did. I basically copied over an element and duplicated it over there, cleaned it up, and yeah, I think it looks really nice. I'm also going to be colour matching it to the bezel a little bit better. Now I know it's a 60-minute timer, but it still sort of ties in with what I'm looking for, basically. So then, you know, give it a little bit of a HSL adjustment to try and match it the best I could to the bezel. Obviously the bezel shifts in colour, so it's a little bit tricky to do. Obviously, you know, if Seiko ever did that, they could do a better job than I can. So then, to make it match a little bit better, we changed the colour to red, obviously as a little throwback to the original Pogue. Of course then, we need indices. Now these ones again are borrowed from the Tailor, and I think they're just a little bit more modern of a look than what you get on the Pogue. So they've definitely got that similar sort of aesthetic, but you know, they're just a little bit more modern, which is again something we wanted to go for. So the next thing I needed to do was add a minute track, because I thought, you know, the dial, you know, it's looking a little bit bare, let's just be honest. So basically now I just had to take elements again from a different watch and just add in the minute track. So I did it a couple of times just to make it a little bit more prominent. But you can see we've got this weird sort of blue tinge going on with it. I don't really know why that is, but I basically just had to work and I removed that the best I could without sort of getting rid of it all. It's not perfect, but again I just think it suits the watch quite well. And if you look at the Pogue, it's quite similar. So we've got again little bits of elements from that, even though it's not from the Pogue. I then decided to add in a brushed steel border around the indices. I just think it, you know, classes it up a little bit, gives it, make it look a little bit more premium, let's just say. And again, you know, these aren't perfect. Again, you know, if they were done properly, they'd look a lot better. But these are created from scratch, so they do look a little bit rough. We then have the numbers. So basically, I just added in numbers again to mimic that of the Pogue. Now the Pogue's is a little bit thingy. You can see the picture of it, it's not actually aligned correctly. So you can see it goes around to the 50 and the 60 is an upside down triangle. I didn't really want that, I just wanted numbers all the way around, and I think it creates quite a nice look. So, you know, that's pretty much what I went for. I then decided to add in text. Now this Pogue image doesn't have the text what it's supposed to have, because that's literally the nicest image I could find. So I've added in the same text, well, as the Pogue. So chronograph, automatic, which you'll find on the proper Pogue. You then also find the water resist. And I've just done a little bit of a nod to the original with a 70 meter, even though it probably wouldn't have 70 meter. I just thought it were quite fun. Again, you know, they'd do it properly. So the next thing I needed was the hands. Now this was the most challenging thing to do. It was so difficult to get the hands to look right. So I ended up just borrowing the Pogue's hands. But you can see the copy I found does not look very good at all. So I had to make a few adjustments. So you can see, changing it, I basically toned down the colour. So you can see it's still, you know, kind of ugly, to be honest. So yeah, we'll address that in a minute. I then changed the hand loom colour so it actually matched the indices a little bit better. Chronograph hand, neatened that up a little bit and colour matched it to the sub-dial one. Again, it just ties in really nicely. So now really we need to address the hands, because obviously those ones look kind of ugly. So what we did basically is manually added a new finish just to, you know, neaten them up. So I basically found a brushed surface off of the internet and I overlaid that over the original finish in the same shape. And I think it just sort of makes it look nicer, let's just say. And then I just went round and I actually did a contrasting finish. I did brushed on one side, polished on the other. Because I've seen that as a trend at the minute that companies are doing. They're doing like half brushed, half polished. Not sure why, but it does actually look kind of cool. And then again, I did the same on the other side and just carried on all the way through until both hands are done. But you can also notice that the pinion in the centre looks a little bit odd. So again, we added another little element to that. And then finally, did a bit of colour correction, and there we go. So if we just remove the border, there it is. So there's my interpretation of the Pogue. Is it very good? I don't know. I think it looks kind of nice. It's definitely not the best one I've ever done, I don't think. But I mean, you can tell what it's going for. It's definitely a Pogue, but not a Pogue. It's got a lot of influence from it, but it's definitely not it. And yeah, I think it's, it's turned out hard. It was hard, should I say, to get it all, done. It took a long time, actually. Probably the longest I've ever spent on one of these edits. But again, I've created a lot of stuff from scratch, which I don't usually have to do. But what do you guys think? Is this a something you'd be interested in? I think, obviously if Seiko did it, they could do a much better job. But then again, they didn't really, did they? They just give us a Seiko 5 with a Pogue coloured dial. So what do I know? Anyway, guys, let me know what you think of this one. Is this something you'd be interested in? I think obviously it'd be quite expensive. Well, given Seiko's prices, increase at the minute. But yeah, let me know what you think. I think it looks kind of nice. I mean, maybe the case, I don't know, could be a little bit more rounded, like the case shape on the Pogue. So maybe you could have, these sharp elements, but then, a little bit more of a rounded look here. Again, it is what it is. I like it. Let me know what you think.